What do smart buyers know about the interest rates for houses that you don't know? Today, my lender and I, Bill Gaylor, are going to teach you exactly that. Everyone is afraid of high interest rates, but what if I told you this was actually when the smartest buyers make their move and make their money? In today's class, we're going to break down why high interest rates are not your opponent for winning, but actually your opportunity. Bill, welcome.
Thank you very much. I can't wait.
We bring Bill on for a specific reason. He knows the numbers. He knows what it's actually going to cost you. Numbers, rates, everything you guys need to know to get into a house. So Bill, let's start with the big one. Less buyer competition, right?
Yes.
This is the number one thing that the media, the news, social media never wants to talk about. They never bring this up. Trust me, I hawk the news. Fox News, NBC, whenever they post a clip about interest rates, they never say, well, you know, when interest rates are higher, there's less buyers on the market. Never. Why do you think that is, Bill?
The reason is they don't tell people that this is the best time to buy. This is 100% best time to buy. I'm going to give you a little stat, right? Okay. You know that I'm a boomer. I'm an older boomer.
Boomer Bill?
Right? Boomer Bill. So when I first got into this industry 32 years ago, there was about 3,900 real estate transactions back in 1993. Okay, that's when I got in. So you know how many transactions there were last year?
How many?
4,000.
4,000.
Just barely above.
Okay.
When I got in. You know what the population is now compared to back in 1993? How much higher it is?
I can imagine.
There's 85 million more people and like 35,000 more households. It's unbelievable. So right now it's the time to get in and buy.
People need to hear that. The amount of people in America, and not just in America, because you can live in Canada, China, Japan, Africa, Antarctica, and still buy a house in America. It's why we're one of the best real estate markets in the world, right? So the amount of people, not just living in America, but buying houses in America has grown exponentially, and yet we're doing the same amount of transactions.
Yes.
Right? So for everybody who says, oh, this is a bubble, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. Things have stayed pretty consistent. We just have more buyers, which means the competition is fierce.
And I'll give you another stat. Can I give you another stat here? So household formation, it's new households being formed every single year. Right now is about 1.9 million households formed each year now. The number of homes that are being built right now is about 1.4 million.
Yep.
That's about a 500,000 home difference.
Yes.
And each year it's getting a little bit more and more and more. There's 3.5 to 5 million shortage of homes.
Yes.
There's pent up demand of buyers, and it's just going to get worse before it gets better. This is the time to do it.
This is the time to do it, right? The best example we always do is going to a nightclub on ladies' night, but let's do a better one, okay? You want to go buy a pair of jeans, but they're super popular jeans. I mean, these are like, or let's take Stanley Cups.
Skinny jeans?
Let's take Stanley Cups, okay? 5 years ago, if you wanted to get a Stanley Cup, you could have grabbed it on any shelf at Savers anywhere in the world. Wouldn't have mattered, right? Because there was no competition. There was no competition. Now that Stanley Cups are collectibles for millennial girls, man, you can't find a Stanley Cup anywhere, right? Yeah, there's more of them being made, but the competition is so high that now Stanley Cups are more expensive. They're more expensive now than ever before. Why? Because there's more competition. And this is what the media and this is what social media, they never talk to people about. When the interest rates are higher and there's fewer buyers, do you know what we're getting, Bill? We're getting more negotiable closing costs. Sellers are willing to make all the repairs. We just had a seller pay $4,000 in repairs. You want to hear the crazy one, Bill? You want to hear the crazy one? Okay, you guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
We just had a seller pay off all of the solar balance and still pay commissions and still give us closing cost. I'm going to repeat this again.
Yes.
We got a seller to pay off all of the solar.
It was a big solar bill, too.
Solar bill. All the solar, all the commissions, and still paid off our closing costs. Bill, if it was a hot market, this wouldn't happen. It's like going to a bar on ladies' night. That girl was way out of your league on Friday, right? But now on Saturday, there's less dudes at the club, she might talk to you. Hell, she might even let you, have a little dance, get her number.
Yeah.
Because there's less competition. And this is the number one thing people need to understand about higher interest rates.
Can I talk about a buyer that I just spoke with yesterday? So yesterday I'm going through a consultation, well qualified, 2 teachers. They're awesome people, right?
Yeah.
They make plenty of money. They have outstanding credit. They have some credit debt, but they also have a child care bill that they're concerned with.
Yeah.
Easily qualified on debt to income ratios. The payment was about maybe $200 more than what they would like to spend, right? Because interest rates are a little bit high. And they said, well, maybe if we save a little bit more money, a year from now, we'll have more money to put down and that will help us.
Yeah.
So I go through the math. I look at, because I'm math, right? It's all about the numbers, right? So they said, well, what if we saved $10,000? I said, okay, let's look at that. You save $10,000 and that will reduce your monthly payment by $65 a month.
Yeah.
Is it hard to save $10,000? Yes. Right? $10,000, that's $833 per month that they would have to save. But yet they didn't want to spend the $200 more for the mortgage payment, when also, in fact, that when the rates do come down, that $200 will go down. They're going to make their maximum mortgage payment, but so they could save money, but they can't spend the extra $200 a month. It doesn't. It just was like, oh, okay, it's hard, but it's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
And I look at it too as a herd mentality, right? Mm-hmm. You got a cow. You love my cow analogy too. It's a little bit different than yours, but the cows all go in a pack. They look up the rainstorm. They start running away from the storm. It keeps over them. The buyers right now are in that storm and they're running away. They're trying to delay. They're trying to get as far. But a buffalo runs right into the storm. And those buyers right now that are running into the storm and taking advantage of probably $30,000 that this particular seller gave to your buyer, it's unbelievable.
Bill,
it's going to go away at some point.
Yeah. Bill, we've had 18 to 20 transactions on the buying side so far this year. Every single one of them has had seller contributions. Not a couple of them, not a majority of them. Every single transaction I've done this year has had seller contributions. On the houses I've sold, guess what? I'm telling my sellers, hey, look, your house is beautiful and it's great, but we're not in that market. You're going to be paying buyer commissions. You're going to be paying contributions. I will try to negotiate those commissions down, but there's no escaping it, right? That's just the market we're in. I'm preparing my sellers in advance because it's true. Right now, we're in such a strong buyer. This isn't like a baby buyer's market. This is like
huge.
This is like right after COVID 2020 buyer's market, where you could walk into any house you want to and just be like, I'll give you a couple pennies for it. Sellers were desperate then and they're desperate now.
Well, it's kind of free money right now, right?
Is.
Because what ends up happening is that same borrower, if they save $10,000 now and a year from now, you can't predict rates, right? You can't time anything. But if we're in a different market a year from now, they just saved $10,000 to pay for closing costs.
100%.
Because the seller's not going to give them $10,000. Right now, the money that they're giving to them, it's free money. And they don't need it.
They don't need it. But let's hit them with some numbers, Bill.
Okay.
We're numbers people. I want all of you guys to do this, okay? So let's say your fear is, I'm going to pay an extra $75 on my mortgage. That's your fear because the interest rates are higher. My mortgage, let's call it $100.
$100.
I'm going to pay an extra $100 on my mortgage. That's your fear right now. Okay. So you're afraid of losing $100 a month times 12 months. That's $1,200.
Yes.
Okay. Right now, I'm getting sellers $15,000 to $20,000 in closing cost. How long would it take you if you're saving $1,200 a month to equal $15,000? You would have to be in that house for 12 years.
It's unbelievable.
So think about that. If I ask somebody, would you rather have $15,000 right now or $100 a month for the next 12 years? What would you say? Everyone's going to take the $15,000 right now. and yet they're still scared.
They're scared.
So let's move on.
People are even backing out of transactions because even though they get $15,000, I'm just thinking to myself,
goofy
oh my
goons,
God.
man.
And it's hard.
Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
You've heard this phrase before, but it's one of our favorite ones to use. Marry the house, date the rate. Bill, a lot of people have been renting their entire life, and they don't know these things. Please explain to them that their interest rate is changeable.
Their interest rate is changeable. So the rate that you pay now is probably going to be the absolute maximum interest rate that you will pay over the lifetime that you're in that home.
Yep.
Because rates go up and down all the time.
Yep.
Even if it comes down 0.5%, you get to lower your payment. If it comes down 1%, guess what? You lower your payment again. We actually have a Lender for Life program where we don't charge any lender fees to refinance them out of the current interest rate. So it like, boom, they can save money almost immediately. There's no prepayment penalties when rates come down.
Yep.
There's so many options for them, and they're just concerned right now. And the other thing that kind of, everyone is so myopic from like, what is it today? And real estate, like anything else, it's a 7 to 10 year time period. 100%. They're not going to be in it for, if you're going to, I would say this, if you're going to stay in the house for 1 to 2 years, don't buy.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be in it and you want to start building wealth, buy.
Buy. 100%. Bill, we're going to do this one for TikTok. You ready, Austin? This one's me for TikTok, okay? Here's something that every renter needs to know about their mortgage. Okay? You can use the equity that your house makes to lower and pay off your mortgage. Your house makes money every year. Do you know the current equity in Las Vegas? 6.6%. Okay. So from 2024 to 2025, the average home in America made 6.6% in Las Vegas. That means you put down 3.5% at the start. After 1 year, when you add the 6.6, you're at around 10% equity. The next year, let's put you at 15% equity. The next year, you're probably close to the 20% equity you need to refinance with 20% down, right? So you have all these buyers who are worried about mortgage insurance and all that. And I said, you can let your equity get you the 20% down. You can refinance without putting a single penny from your own pocket. Every renter in America needs to know this. Everyone, because their rents are going to keep going up because they don't realize that they can help their mortgage go down.
Let me ask you a question too. So if their payment was going to be $200 more a month because it's not their ideal payment, how much is that in a year?
$2,400.
$2,400.
Yeah.
If they bought a $400,000 house and it appreciated by 6.6%, how much would the house be after a year?
A little over $24,000.
Okay. So they make $24,000 on the growth of their house and the wealth.
Yep.
And it costs them $2,400.
Yes.
That's a pretty good deal.
When I speak to my first-time buyers, when I teach my class, that's what I tell them. Would you pay $200 a month if I gave you $24,000 at the end of the year? And look, let's not even listen. Let's not even go with the average equity. Let's go below. Let's say the equity was 4%. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you trade $200 a month for $16,000 a year? Okay. Let's go with half. Let's say 3% equity. Would you trade $200 a month for $12,000? How low do I have to go before you realize that the money is silly?
Yeah.
Right? You're exchanging an extra $50 to $150 per month in exchange for tens of thousands of dollars at the end of the year. That's it. That's the transaction. That's the deal that you're making when you buy a house. And I think when you put it into raw numbers, like, because percentages are goofy. What is 6.6%? What does that mean? When I tell you $24,000, okay, it means something
a
now,
lot.
right?
Yep. Can I also chime in here? You talk about buyer's market, right?
Yeah.
It is a buyer's market because the sellers are trying to sell their house. Interest rates are high. Buyers are a little bit fearful, so they're doing a lot of due diligence. But if you look at the 1970s Okay. What was the issue in the 1970s? The same
Jimmy
thing.
Carter.
Jimmy Carter, right? We had inflation out the roof, right? Yeah. We had wars going on, Vietnam. We had all sorts of stuff that was happening back then, right?
Actual wars too.
Yeah.
Not like these social media wars, like actual war.
Actual wars. So, but if you look at the decades from the 40s to now, every decade has made appreciation, positive appreciation over a 10-year period. The biggest appreciation time period was when it was a huge buyer's market in the 1970s. 1970s had the highest overall appreciation of over 120% in the 1970s. Are we in a similar situation now as we were in the 1970s?
Much better.
It's better.
It's better.
I don't think it's going to be that, but I'm telling you, the reason why people should buy is because it is a buyer's market. People are giving, the sellers have equity in their homes to give to the buyer to actually get out of their house to go on to the next house.
Yeah.
It's a great time to buy. And when those rates come down, I'm telling you that 85 million people that grew in the last 30 years, they're going to be jumping back in.
Let's give one more example, and then we're going to jump right into what you said about rates will drop. Buying now at $400,000 with a 7% rate is going to cost much less long-term than buying later at $470,000 with a 5% rate. I do this for people all the time, right? I say, okay. You're worried about the mortgage rate. Okay. What number would make you feel safe? And they go, well, if it was closer to 4 to 5%. I go, okay. If the interest rate dropped to 4 to 5%, what do you think would happen to the cost of a $400,000 home? Do you think it would stay the same or would it go up? It would go up. By how much? By how much? When you're letting on millions of new buyers, how much do you think it would go up? Well, your $400,000 house would become a $475,000 or $500,000 house. And guess what? A $500,000 house at 5% interest is more expensive on your mortgage than a $400,000 house with a 7% interest. You're not actually saving money. That's the thing. That's the big joke, you guys. You're not actually saving money when the interest rates go down because the price of the house skyrockets to compensate for it. And that's where we're headed to number 3. Rates will drop, prices will spike. Again, I use the Stanley Cup, those Stanley Cups, okay? What happened to the price of Stanley Cups? Did it go up by a little bit? No. The second something becomes popular, it becomes expensive. Think about your favorite restaurant or your favorite band. You liked the band when they were small. You got to go to their concerts for $10 to $15. What happened the second that Taylor Swift got famous? Is she doing $10 to $15 concerts anymore? Bruno Mars. You might have saw Bruno Mars when he first started. Are his tickets $10 to $15 anymore? You might have liked Adele when she was doing, should I give up or should I keep on chasing pavements?
Wow.
You might have seen Adele.
Brandon, that was good.
You might have seen Adele when she was $25. Now, to go see her at Caesars, it's like $1,000 a ticket. When things become popular, prices don't go up, Bill. They skyrocket. Please tell the audience a little bit about how that changes.
So what I'm going to say is statistically, if there is a 1% drop in interest rates, it can bring in, from an affordability standpoint, upwards of 5 million potential home buyers.
Repeat that. 1% drop
1% drop in interest rates can bring in 5 million potential home buyers because it increases the affordability for those potential people. Now, granted, not all 5 million are going to buy, but let me tell you this. We only sold 4 million last year, right?
Yep.
And there's at least 5 million shortage of homes.
Yep.
And it's still growing. So they're going to want in.
Yep.
They're going to want in, and it's just going to make the price higher.
It's going and we go back to my favorite analogy. Waiting for interest rates to drop is like waiting outside of a club until it's free. Yeah, you got in for free, but by the time you got in there, everything's gone. The fun is over. The girls have already found the guys they want to hang out with. You're going to a dead nightclub, right? If you wait till the club is free, There's going to be 5 single girls and 1,000 broke dudes who are all waiting for the club to be free, all competing for the same 5 girls. So yeah, you got in for free, but are you going to have a good time? Say no, right? The big thing, and this is another clippable that we have to put in. We're going to do this as a TikTok clip. You guys ready? Waiting for interest rates to drop is like waiting for a nightclub to be free. Yeah, you might get in cheaper, but you're probably not going to have a good time. The number one thing people forget is that the interest rates don't just drop for poor people. They don't just drop for the middle class. They drop for that rich alpha Chad who's going to go in there and swoop all 5 girls up at one time, and you're going to be left with nothing. The interest rates drop for rich people too. They're waiting too. Do you want to compete with them, or do you want to compete with bozos like me? That's your choice. Those are your options, right? The final thing I want to get into, Bill, and this is my favorite topic. I saved the best for last. Take 2 people. One person in 2020, when COVID was going on, said, you know what? I'm not going to be scared. I'm a Buffalo. I'm going to buy a house. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the other person said, oh man, the world is crazy right now. I'm afraid. I'm going to be a cow. I'm going to stay with the herd. I'm going to eat the grass that they're getting, and I'm just going to do my thing. Okay? Do you know the difference in their financial situation based on equity?
It's got to be ginormous.
The average American from 2020 to 2025 has made $180,000 in equity. That is the difference between people who wait and people who don't. The guy who rented in 2020, you know what happened to him? His rent is $500 more expensive. He's lost money every year, and every year he's going to lose more. The longer you sit on the sidelines and wait, the longer it takes for you to make your equity, right? Equity is this it's like this gigantic pool, and it's scary. But the sooner you jump into that pool, the sooner you get to start having fun.
And what ends up happening is home ownership actually makes you financially smarter.
Yes.
You understand what your housing is, but you also start to set up your family with other things, such as retirement, 401k, investments. Everything becomes a little bit more clear financially for you when you become a homeowner, because you have to learn.
My favorite thing is the people are like, well, what about this one guy that I knew who bought a house and went broke? And I said, what about the 37,000 renters you know who are already broke and getting evicted? No one ever talks about that, right? They always want to people will find the one needle in the haystack and be like, look at that guy bought a house and he's broke. How many renters have gotten evicted? How many renters have lived in the same place for 10 years? How many renters are broker now than when they started renting? They ignore the 1,000 examples of that and focus on the one. But that's not reality.
Yeah. Some of it is luck. I'm working with somebody right now who has rented for 5 years, and the seller decided, or the landlord said, you know what? I've had enough. I'm going to sell.
Yeah.
And so now the below market rent, she's going to be paying more than double what she was paying before.
Yeah.
And it just, things change.
We have a good question from TikTok. Land or Lord? Lord says, good points, but what if someone can't afford the payment at 7% interest? Hey, Lord, have you checked? What if I told you 90% of people never even check to see what they can afford? They just say, I can't afford it.
That's a good point.
Do you even know what you can afford? That's my question to you guys. Not just to Lord, but to everybody. Do you even know what you can afford? Did you know that you can call a lender like Bill for free and his team will tell you what you can and can't afford? You guys don't it's not a guessing game. You don't find a house and go, I want to buy it. Let's see if I can afford it. No, you figure out what you can afford and then you buy a house based on that.
And it's about math, right? Mm-hmm. And it's about debt to income ratios, and there's credit involved in there as well. But what would you say to somebody that they could potentially afford it? Yeah. They don't really want to afford it because it feels too high to them.
Yeah.
And then you negotiate a 2-1 buy down from the seller to lower their interest rate 2% for the first year, 1% for the second year. So they have 2 years to really get settled in and figure it out and have rates potentially drop, or they get a raise. They figure it out.
You gave a perfect example. because the interest rates are higher and sellers are giving so much in contributions, Bill, we use the seller's contributions to literally buy my buyer's interest rate down. I'm going to repeat this again. You can use the seller's money to buy your interest rate down, and we're getting so much money from the sellers right now that we paid off the HOA for a year.
Yeah.
We lowered their interest rate with the seller's money, and we had so much left over, we paid their HOA for a year. Like, again, this is like going to a nightclub on ladies' night, and the hot girl comes and talks to you and buys you a drink. Like, it's such a reverse of roles right now.
And the interesting thing is, too, is that the sellers have the equity to do it. They bought it. Maybe they bought it in early, 2014, 15. Maybe they bought it in 2020. They have built equity over that time period. They don't have to be a complete greed because they got to get on to their life, move on to the next one. They're going to pass up some of those funds back to the buyer so they can move on with life. Their circumstances have changed.
100%.
They need a bigger house.
100%.
They need a smaller house, whatever it means.
No,
they got money to give it to the buyers right now.
The sellers, okay, this is really good that you brought this up. Sellers are realizing how good it is to buy a house. They're like, wait. I can get the house of my dreams for this price? Here, look, take my house. I just want you to take it off my hands so I can go out and buy the house I want for cheap, cheaper, right? Yeah. Like, I want to buy the house I want for cheaper, right? It's working both ways. It's such a strong buyer's market. The equity, here's the thing. If the equity was going down, if I looked up and Las Vegas was only making 2 to 3% equity per year, I'd say, you know what? Okay, I get it. We might need a bit of a slowdown, but that's not happening. Bill, that's not happening, right? It's just not. We're continually making the equity. Houses continue to appreciate at these crazy values.
But my point there too is even if it went flat, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to stay flat.
No.
Because it just can't. Because when the rates drop, they're going to go back up. It's just you may make less in 1 year, but over the time period that you're going to hold that house, it's all going to come back.
Yeah. Think of equity. Someone on our TikTok actually put this up. They said, think of equity like a savings account. And that's a really good way to put it. Think of equity. It's like your house becomes a second bank account. This is why you can borrow money from your house. This is why you can take out HELOCs and use the money for other things. One of the best ways to become a real estate mogul is to simply buy a house, let it gain equity, and then use the equity from that house to buy another house. You're never actually using your own money. You're just letting the house gain equity, right? Bill, high interest rates scare emotional buyers.
Yes.
That's the truth. As we've seen with the television and social media, everything scares emotional people. That's the cow, right? And I know, I got the joke, guys. I kind of look like a cow today, but don't worry, we hit the gym, okay? But savvy buyers use interest rates to get in, negotiate hard, and win. And win. It's not oppression, it's opportunity. It just depends on how you look at things, right? Bill, if people are tired of being scared, if they're tired of being the cow and they want to be the buffalo, how do they contact you?
BillGaylord.com.
BillGaylord.com. And let's say maybe they don't like using websites, they prefer social media. Can they reach you there?
100%. At OOH.Gaylord.
As always, guys, we're going to put all of Bill's information in the description below so you guys can contact him directly. Stop questioning what you can afford and find out exactly what you can afford. My name is Brandon from Vegas. We have committed to teaching you guys for free for 5 years now. If you want to reach me, there's a real estate forum, once again, in the description. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. If you message me, I will find you. I will respond to you. We will communicate and we will get you guys started. I'm most likely going to connect you with Bill because you got to figure out what you can afford, but we can at least get you guys started and get you going. High interest rates do not have to be scary, and you don't have to be a cow forever. Ain't that right, Bill?
No, be a smart buyer, be the buffalo.
Right. Thank you, Bill, for your time. As always, Come and be my neighbor. Peace, peace, peace. My producers love this when I do this. They really like this. They think this is so funny that I always do this thing at the very end and they have to edit it out.